All right, so today I'm joined by Jesse Carbo from Digital Missions Project. And Jesse spent years helping churches think like missionaries in the digital space, leveraging tools like Google Search, AI to reach neighbors who may never walk through the doors on their own. His work focuses on turning everyday sermons and content into practical outreach that works 24/7, meeting people where they already are online. Jesse brings both ministry conviction and real world execution. I'm excited for you guys to learn from him today. So thanks for joining us, Jesse.
Thanks, Justin. Thanks for having me. It's an honor to be able to meet with you and to share with your friends and your audience. Yeah.
Yeah, this is good content. I've walked through it. I know you guys are going to learn something just from this video alone. But Jesse's got more for you at the end, so stick around. Our heart here is to help the church and grow the church, and so I'll let you just jump right into it, man. I know you got some good stuff here.
Yeah. Thank you, man. And just to give a little bit of context, like 28 years serving as a church planner, pastor, executive pastor, and then 4 years ago we realized there was a big gap just after COVID. Churches were struggling to figure out their digital outreach strategy, and so we just started having conversations with pastors out of a exponential conference and realizing that church leaders are a little bit lost and unclear about like what's the best strategy. Every pastor wants to reach more neighbors, every pastor wants to help people get the gospel, but they had a website and they had some social media, but it was like, well, what else? We don't really know. And so we've that's kind of the journey that we've been on, is helping them figure out. And so yeah, title of this is how churches can leverage Google and AI to reach neighbors 24/7. And so we wonder, like, is this your church? Are you running events without any measurable impact? I've done so many events and then we don't know, like, did that really have any real result? Did anybody really come? The challenge of getting people in our congregation to actually invite others. We push the invite cards and we just wonder, like, is anyone actually doing that? I ask churches all the time, like, how many people visit your website? And, they just don't know. Website just gets little attention or traffic. We don't even know if our social media results are getting any results or, push there. And we're just unclear really, like, how the live stream is actually driving mission, but we do it because that's what we're supposed to do, right?
Everybody does it.
Everybody does it. And so we hope that by the end of this training, this video, like, we're going to identify three common outreach mistakes. We're going to help you learn how to better leverage your sermons, because this is the main thing that a lot of churches are sitting on and don't realize. This is gold. This is like your best opportunity right now with AI and Google, and then help you get a clear path to reaching more neighbors 24/7. So this is for ministry leaders who are feeling the burden of unreached neighbors. And the truth is, sometimes I do talk to pastors and they're like, "Hey, we're full." And we're like, "That's a good problem. And that's okay. This may not be the best video for you, but if you still have a burden to reach more of the unreached neighbors in your community, this is for you." Churches that are ready to move beyond the traditional methods. This is not for you if you're currently satisfied with your current church growth, and if you're believing that a digital presence just isn't essential or necessary.
No,
So we
you're
we
you're
just
wrong on both accounts, but you're right. It's not for you.
That's right. That's right. Your neighbors are now living in two spaces, the physical and the digital. It's just the reality of it, right? And so Acts 1:8 obviously tells us, but you will receive power when the Holy Spirit comes on you, and you will be my witnesses in Jerusalem and in all Judea, Samaria, and to the ends of the earth. And I know there wasn't the internet when Acts 1:8 was written, but if the internet did exist when Acts 1:8 was written, they'd probably say, and online, right? Because the reality is, and honestly, the story for me is a little bit anecdotal, but like I was in Havana, Cuba, doing some pastoral training with some church leaders there, and I remember coming out. We were going to get ready to go to dinner, and I looked up, and there was a teenager with an iPhone in one of the poorest parts of Havana, Cuba, and it just dawned on me: everybody's online around the world. Digital is the largest mission field, and
Mhm.
so practically speaking, we have to figure this out, and so nowadays, like, if I were to ask you, how does your church do outreach? I'm usually hearing like one of these three things. It's, we're pumping up the invite culture, right? We're doing the trunk or treats, the fall festivals, inviting for the Easter egg hunt. We're doing all kinds of events so that we can create that invite culture. We're doing community service. And all these things are great. We're doing food drives, park cleanups, beach cleanups where I live. Like, this is all great. And personal evangelism. Churches that we're working with are doing alpha courses. Maybe your church is even doing door to door. I don't know, but like, These are the three main things I'm hearing that churches are doing. But there are kind of three obstacles, and so I'm going to share those with you now. The first obstacle is that events are actually incredibly time consuming. We do it once a week, a month, a quarter. It just takes a lot of manpower, a lot of energy, a lot of resources, and it's just incredibly difficult to measure the success. And we wonder, like, and I know, like, because we're all very spiritual and very holy, very godly, we say if only one person, like it's all worth it, right? Because Jesus
Right.
chases the one lamb and leaves the 99, right? But the reality is events can be incredibly time consuming. The second obstacle is that there's calendar competition. Calendar competition is a real thing. Your events, even your Sunday morning services, they just conflict with people's busy lifestyle. Attendance is lower than expected. Events are announced, but people are still unaware. And Sundays are just no longer sacred. I mean, the soccer team, the little league football team, baseball team, they just don't care about the fact that you have church on Wednesday or Awanas on Friday. Like people are scheduling things, and parents and families are having to choose between this and that. And so there's calendar competition is a real thing. And the third thing is the low trust and authority. Most neighbors, they'll just never naturally walk through the doors of your church. A new church building used to attract neighbors, not so much. And Barna research tells us very clearly that pastors actually have the same trust level as a used car salesman. And
Ouch.
and then when personally invited, the reality is everybody trolls you digitally first. So even if the people in your church are doing a good job of inviting their neighbors, their friends, their coworkers, the reality is the first thing they're doing is they're going to their phones or their computer and they're trolling your church online before they make that decision to actually show up. So these are some of the obstacles. But the paradox is this, that the majority of your neighbors are not ready to be a part of your church right now, but that doesn't mean you still can't reach them and engage them. That's the beauty of the fact that people do live in a physical and digital space. We still can reach and engage them. And so obviously, like every church has got some level of social media exposure, social media, whether you're on Facebook or YouTube or WhatsApp or Instagram, this is just a simple chart that shows you like where people are at, right? And so, yeah, so we're running some kind of social media game and search. We would love for someone to type in the search bar, church near me, church in my city, right? And then your church pops up like, come to our place, right? Like this is what we're all striving for. But I wanna take a moment and I don't want this video to be too long because I know you guys are busy, but I wanted to just take a moment and explain that there is a difference between social media marketing, search marketing, and kind of all the different approaches and strategies out there. And I'll highlight these two. There's interest-based marketing. Interest-based marketing is when the algorithm shows the user what they think they'll like. And this is really social media. It's you put your sermon clips out there, you'll put some content, a Bible verse, and you're really trusting Meta's, Instagram or Facebook's, algorithm to say who will like this, and then hoping that they'll put it in front of the right people, right? And so that's interest-based marketing. But intent-based marketing is when the algorithm shows the user what they say they want. And so that's when someone goes to Google and they say, I'm looking for a church near me, or I'm looking for answers to these particular questions
Yeah.
about my faith, my life, my issues that I'm going through. And so
Mhm.
then Google and then even AI will deliver to the user what it is that they say they want. And so I think if we were like honest and we said, okay, which one feels like it's a more effective approach to reaching your neighbors,
Mhm.
intent-based marketing is a much better strategy. It's a much better approach. Now, I'm not saying social media doesn't have a place, and we're going to get to that. I'm going to explain where social media kind of fits into this. But here's the reality: your neighbors, they fit in one of three categories. They're either cold, they're curious, or they're connecting. Cold neighbors are people who just don't know you exist. They're just unaware, right? They may have driven past your building, they may have seen an ad, but it just goes over their head. They just didn't see it. Or the other kind of cold neighbor is they don't care, right? They're somewhat hostile. They're just like,
Yeah.
yeah, I don't trust those Christians. I don't trust I don't think any of that's true. That's cold. Curious, they can either be passively curious, where like they might watch a couple clips, they might check out your website once or twice, or they're actively curious, like they're actually watching you online, they've subscribed to your newsletter. And then there's connecting, right? They're either connecting digitally, where they're watching your live stream every week, they've set the notifications on your social media to every time you post something, they're getting that information, or they've actually shown up in person, right? And they're actually connecting, right? And so all of your neighbors fit in one of those three categories. And we believe that there are four activities that have to happen to move your neighbors from cold to connecting, right? And so it would be analytics. Like we need to know like who's actually connecting with us. Like we need to, you know, install some simple tools that help us track and see who's visiting our website, who's actually looking at us on social media. And then we need to build awareness, do some activities that help build awareness for those people who don't know that you exist. And then for those people who now know that you exist, start to build some trust and some authority in their lives so that they go, okay, like these people aren't as
Yeah.
weird as I thought maybe they were. Let me check them out a little bit more. Maybe actually show up. And then automations, because the reality is you're busy. And if you had to literally answer every email and text message that came through, the truth is lots of times people just fall through the cracks because we forget, or they email us at 2 o'clock in the morning when they're going through something serious and we
Yep.
missed it. So if we can implement some automation, we can actually capture everybody, because people matter, right? So
Yep.
this is the digital mission scale. I just co-opted this from James Angle. I actually co-opted this from Kenny Zhang because Kenny Zhang was using the James Angle scale. And I said, yeah, this makes a lot of sense in digital missions. Like there's these steps that people take. Like people don't go from like no awareness to like fully engaged with your
Sure.
church. It's like first they don't know that your church exists. Now they know your church exists. And then they know where your church is at. And then they learn about some of the activities of your church. And so on and so forth. But what I really want to point out is this, that what matters is what you do in between the steps. In between the steps is like the levers that you pull. Like there's a lot of different ways you can make people aware of your church. I mean, you could have somebody out with a sign, twirling one of those signs on the street corner to let people know. And yeah, okay, so great. So that's one way to do it, right? You can run ads. We've done social media. You've got the website. We've got all kinds of different tactics, but what matters is like, what's the intentional lever that you're pulling in between those steps to move people along the path? And that's what we're talking about here today. And so what it really boils down to is like strategy is more important than tactics. Tactics can change. Social media channels are going to come and go. Like, we didn't have AI, 5 years ago, and now it's like everybody's like it's all the rage, right? It's like how do we do AI? What do we do, right? So, but strategy is, and so for us, we look at, you need clarity on your messaging. Who is it that you're trying to reach? And I know it's everybody, right? Because that's the spiritual answer. That's the right answer. You want to reach everybody. But the truth is, you're not going to reach everybody. You're going to reach a certain group of people. And there's a lot of, but we could say more about that. But you need clarity on your messaging. And that literally means the words on the page, the words on the website, like clarifying who it is that you're trying to reach. You need a gospel content system. To me, that's your sermons. Like you're already preparing and preaching these sermons, but the reality is they live, on YouTube or wherever you store them, and nobody ever sees them after that, right? They're not really working for you, right? And so there's a way you can take that sermon and put it to work for you in a way to reach more people. And then you need a channel strategy, right? Your channel, could be a social media channel. We prefer Google. We love Google. We love AI, but and so here's how all this kind of comes together as we look at the flywheel, right? Um, you need message clarity to say to the people who are cold, who don't know that you exist or who don't care that you exist. We need message clarity so that we can build awareness that then moves people towards building authority, for in the gospel content system that builds authority, builds trust, because now they're curious in that channel, whether it's Google, whether it's social media. And then as they start to connect, right, some automations that follow up with them, there's this beautiful thing where we can pre-write 7 to 10 emails and drip those emails out to people in advance. I mean, this is something that's been around for a long time, but churches typically don't use this kind of automation technology, that then ultimately converts them into, either engaging with you online or engaging with you in person. And then we can measure this and say, is it working? Is it not working? And then we can, adapt and kind of start the process over again. And so this is, you can take a screenshot of this and kind of think through what this looks like for your church. So just imagine with me, what if 1% of your website visitors, they converted into visitors, members, disciples, leaders, and church planters? So let's do the math, right? If you had 1,000 unique monthly visitors, which If you live in a city that has like 100,000 people, it's not very difficult to get 1,000 unique visitors every month. That's
Sure.
12,000 annually. And if you had 1% of them convert, it's 120 annually that would. And so when churches are thinking about like, how do we grow our church? The reality is you just got to get in front of people. You got to get in front of enough people. It really is a numbers game. You got to get in front of enough people. And there's a way to be able to do this digitally. And so I would also say that we have to start thinking like missionaries again. It's one of the reasons why we called our organization the Digital Missions Project, because we're not in the business of events. We're not event planners. We're not politicians. We are missionaries. And we're missionaries because we're on a mission. Jesus gave us his mission to go and make disciples. And we have to start thinking like missionaries again, and we have to meet people where they're at. When it comes to the gospel content system, I'll just point out that Harvard, has been doing this research for a while now about human flourishing and kind of the six main areas that people, are always looking for solutions. They're always looking for answers to these six main areas around finances, relationships, faith, spirituality, meaning, purpose, happiness and satisfaction, and physical mental health. And guess what? You're already preaching the truth of the gospel that impacts all six of these areas, right? But what if you could meet people where they're at and actually say, let me put it this way. If you're watching this video, ask yourself, is the gospel on my website? My guess is the answer is no, because most websites that I look at, and I look at a lot of websites every single week, most churches are unintentionally gatekeeping the gospel. Like we assume, like when people come to our service in person, that's when they'll hear the gospel. But my question is why? Why do they have to wait till they come to an in-person service to hear the gospel? Why can't they hear the gospel when they first encounter you? Right? Because when they first visit your website, guess what? They're dealing with financial problems. They're dealing with relational discord. They're struggling with their meaning and purpose in life. Their happiness and satisfaction score may be very low. And so what if you could meet them where they're at and immediately start to disciple them and immediately start to answer those questions and immediately start to share the gospel with them? This is how people are used to consuming content. And the reality is, if you don't start to disciple them digitally, somebody else will.
Mm-hmm.
The world will. Some influencer on social media will. They'll follow, name your favorite podcaster out there. There's a lot of great ones, but somebody will disciple them if you don't. And this is the reality. People are used to concern, and you already have the greatest message in the world. And so your sermons are already answering their questions. And so having a good gospel content system is part of the strategy. And so what this practically looks like is turning your sermons into blog posts that are AI ready, and even connecting there's a Google ad grant. Maybe you know about this, maybe you don't know about this, but Google gives $10,000 a month in free ads to nonprofits. And so, if you're a church, you're a nonprofit, and you have the ability to get access to this ad grant, and you can turn your sermons into blog posts, make sure they're SEO optimized, which just means search engine optimized. There's some technical stuff. We could talk more about that later. But, and you can run a dynamic search ad with the Google ad grant that Google will literally put your sermon blogs in front of people based on the questions that they're asking online. And so this is what a strategy would look like. This isn't tactical. This is strategic. This is like getting clear on your messaging, having a gospel content system in a particular channel strategy. Conversion pathways has to do with like making sure that every page of your website has a next step or a call to action. Just think about like if you're sitting with a person and you're discipling them, and they come to you and they share their life and they share something that's going on, and you just pat them on the back and say, sorry about that, brother, I'll be praying for you, and you move on. Like, that's terrible. Like, no, what you want to do is you want to actually pray for them, and then you want to say, hey, come to small group with me. You want to give them like a next step, like invite them into the journey with you, right? And so this is conversion pathways. And then analytics, a way to be able to measure and track like what's actually happening so that you know what to do next. And so we just want to invite you to take your next step. And we'd like to offer you something. It's called the Digital Roadmap. It's a customized strategy for your church. We don't believe that every church should be doing the same thing that every other church is doing. The goals that you have, even some of the theological implications of your church, depending on your denomination and your tribe, the city that you're in, like a church in the Midwest versus like New York City, like those strategies might be very different. And so we will meet with you for a couple of hours, ask you a bunch of questions, and then deliver to you a custom plan, a custom strategy. And it's a simple plan to make your site work. It'll include an SEO audit with a handy checklist, Google Ad Insights with support to the $10,000 ad grant, a strategy that's tuned to your city, the size, and your goals. You'll get the recording plus a clear roadmap. And it's just a friendly, no pressure session. If you text the word Justin to 786-686-0574, schedule a fit call with us. When you schedule the fit call, look, it's a 15 to 20-minute call. You'll get to ask us questions. We'll get to make sure and see if this makes sense to be able to do that. But if you decide to take us up on the digital roadmap, normally we charge $500 for the digital roadmap. We'll include, for $497, we'll include getting your Google Ad Grant application set up. Like, we'll help you walk through that process and get you the ad grant. We will set up your analytics. We'll make sure to get that activated, set up, and dialed into your website. Your tag manager, search console, and your Google business profile will give you an SOP. So we're giving you a bunch more. Normally we charge a bunch of money, $1,450 for this, but for $497. But all you got to do is just text the word Justin to that number. We
Love it.
will just do a fit call. That's the only commitment at the moment. And the other thing is, if you go through the digital roadmap process with us and you find that it wasn't valuable, which you won't, you will find it valuable. We have a money back guarantee. We'll give you the money back. We're not trying to rip anybody off. We really are trying to serve churches to help them figure out how to have a clear strategy to reach their neighbors in their community. These are just a couple of testimonials. We serve Exponential, which is a large church training organization. We run their Google Ads. We serve churches like the Miami Vineyard, one of the largest vineyard churches in the nation. We like to say that a ministry without a digital presence is like a lighthouse without a light. And we have the greatest opportunity right now in the world to share the gospel. There's a lot going on in our country, Justin. I know you
Yeah,
know. There's a
I
lot
know
of
that.
there's a lot of there's a lot of divisiveness. There's a lot of arguing online. Man, people are hungry for God's love, hungry for truth, and that's what we want to do. We just want to help pastors figure out how to
Yeah.
reach their neighbors. So yeah.
No, there's a huge opportunity there, and I mean, thank you for this generous offer. Like, I mean, to text the word Justin to that number and just schedule a call. Like, I would say everybody watching this needs to do that. That's a no-brainer. Why not see if this is a good fit for your church, and they can explain more of what goes all into that. But super generous to add on all this extra stuff for under $500. I know that this is life changing for churches, and just thank you for being generous with that. Jesse, what would you say, like, what's what's holding churches back most often? Is it budget? Is it just they don't have the technology to support stuff? Is it just they need clarity in general on their messaging? Like, what have you encountered?
Yeah. So um, obviously, every church is unique, and someone watching this might say, "Well, that's not me," and I get it. Like, so I'm about to make a statement that's very generalized.
Yeah,
Um, but I find that there is a scarcity mentality and kind of a fear, right? And oftentimes the fear comes from not knowing what you don't know.
right.
Like, there is a fear. It's like, well, if I do this, like, is it going to work? True. Like, I get it. Like, I've been there. Like, I was an executive pastor that helped grow a church from one campus to five campuses, and the budget grew. And there's a lot of fear. You don't want to get it wrong. In a healthy way, there's a fear of the Lord. Like, you want to honor the Lord in everything that you're doing. But that's
Yeah,
why a lot of churches will call us and say, like, how much of your services? We don't start there. We start with this digital roadmap process to get really clear about what you should be doing. And the reality is, like, maybe there's a lot you're already doing that you shouldn't be doing, and
sure.
you could save money and save time and energy and really just focus on this other thing that's really going to get you some traction.
Yeah.
um, but yeah, so I find it's fear and a lack of clarity, and so
Yeah.
yeah, that tends to be the challenge.
That's what I see a lot. The fear thing is real. There's just a lot unknown, or they're naive a bit, and just in the fact that they just aren't experienced, not in any other way, and they need help. So glad that you're there to help them. I mean, I always like to end on this. The audience that this is going to go out to is mostly small churches. That's the audience that I've, served over the years with events I put together and products that I put together. And so, we always get this question of just like, okay, like we're a small church. It's just me. It's just me here. Or, their
Right.
nephew is literally, running
Right. But
stuff. And
the
it's
web
like,
master. Yeah. Yes.
yeah, yeah, exactly. Or the person over the website is literally the worship pastor as well. So, just frame it like that. A church with limited staff, limited budgets, can they realistically do this well, or is this just not for them?
Yeah, absolutely. We work with both large and small churches, and we understand. Like I pastored, several small churches. I church planted, and so I understand limitations on budget. I understand limitations on the human resources, like people to help you
Yeah.
execute. And so that is part of the digital roadmap process is to help understand, like, okay, what makes sense for you in your context? Like, who do you have to help you? What does that look like? And then we can design a path forward that will make the most sense for you in your particular situation.
It's
So,
perfect. Love it. Well, thank you so much, man. I hope people
thank
take you
you.
up on this and at least have a call to see if it's a good fit and appreciate what you do for the church. I know I've heard tons of stories from you of just ways that this has been helpful and the fruit that you've seen it and your heart for literally digital missions is incredible and inspiring. So thank you, man. Appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks, Justin. Thanks for having me.